Hey guys, Josh here again with Windy City Equipment. Kicking things off with our very first episode of service technician career. I wanted to make the first episode a video that I had promised to one of our viewers, Mr. Pops McCartney. So Pops, this one's for you. Couple of things before I get started. Number one is that the bag that I'm about to pick through is very old. It's my bag from when I was in the field, but I haven't been in the field for a while, so a couple of things to keep in mind. Mine does not look very presentable, but when you are a technician working for yourself or an employer, you're going to want to have a bag that is presentable. A lot of my guys have like tool backpacks or the kind that have the wheels on them with the handle that they can roll around, kind of like they're in an airport. Either way, any of those work as long as they're organized and as long as they're presentable. My bag is neither because since I've come out of the field, it's kind of been used more so as a shop bag. You know, people kind of take what they need if they're working on stuff here in the shop, and so it gets beat up pretty good, but hey, it does the trick for now. So anyway, oh yeah, also I want to make sure that the volume on this is good. There's been some complaints about the volume, people not being able to hear me very well. I made some adjustments, but if it's still not good enough, shoot me a comment or an email or something and let me know, so I can find a better solution to that. So without further ado, let's get started. The first thing isn't really considered a tool, but it is very important, and that is a bag. And like I just talked about, it needs to be big enough to house all the tools, needs to be durable enough to not break down immediately, and it needs to be presentable. It needs to be clean. You know, you'll probably end up having to replace a bag depending on how much you're actually working in the field, at least once a year, once every year and a half, something like that. But anyway, that's definitely number one. You want all the compartments that you need. I also want to apologize in advance for the length of this video. It's going to be one of the longer ones just because we have a lot of tools to go over here. So the first thing, and my pride and joy tool that I used every single day on almost every single job, is a multi-purpose screwdriver, usually a 9-in-1 or an 11-in-1. I like the Klein ones. It's got the yellow with the rubber handle, and all the attachments. So I think all I have right now is this orange one. Not a very good screwdriver, but does the trick for what we need here. I don't know where my Klein went. It's somewhere around. Also, you're going to want a standard Phillips screwdriver. There's going to be some hard to reach places where the fat shaft of the 11-in-1 won't fit into, so you're going to want a standard one too. The longer the shaft, the better. They do make screwdrivers that the shaft is like that long. You don't need to go that far. That's more of a specialty tool, but a little bit longer than this would do the trick. Also, a large flathead screwdriver with a very big, strong shaft on it is very good to have. I don't have one in this bag right now. I believe it's still back in the shop, but large flathead screwdriver. A couple of what I like to call stubby screwdrivers. These are good for hard to reach places where long screwdrivers won't do the trick. Both flathead and Phillips, gonna want those. Set of channel locks. I've got a couple of sets in here, but channel locks really come in handy, especially when you're dealing with leverage. I'll go over this probably in another episode, but channel locks, I think that a lot of technicians turn to them as like the all-purpose turning mechanism, and just want to be clear, you really want to know what and what not to use channel locks on, because they can damage a lot of things if you don't use the right tool. If you use this, and you should be using something else. So but they are good to have for several reasons. A pair of Lineman pliers, just your basic pliers, going to be really good for leverage and you know, being able to grasp something small, which I see a lot in this industry. You know, some of these tools are going to be a little industry specific, but you'll have to use your best judgment here. A pair of Needlenose Pliers is always good for the hard to reach areas. You know, these come in handy quite a bit. I also have a set of really small Needlenose Pliers that help when you have to get really precise with them. A pair of diagonal cutters. A lot of times in this industry we have to cut off wire ties and snip wires and things like that, and these come in handy. You know, and I want to stress here, right tool for the right job. All right, if you have the right tools in your bag and you're using the right tools based on the application, it's going to make your life and your job a whole lot easier. Also, crescent wrenches, you're going to want a couple of those. I usually have a small, medium, and large. You probably only really need a small and a large. And when I'm talking large, I mean like a you know, 14, 18-inch big crescent wrench. They do come in handy, especially if you can open them to the size of a lot of the things that we work with, like gas hoses and things like that. Get a lot better grip and a lot better leverage on those. You're going to want a set of open-end ratcheting wrenches. All right. I'm not going to get too specific as far as the sizes go. You're just going to want a set of them. If I talked sizes, I could be here all day. But it's going to look something like this with the ratcheting closed end here. Can't stress this enough. Go with the non-ratcheting open. All right, you see this one here. This is actually a ratcheting open-end wrench. I thought it was a cool concept, so I bought a set. Craftsman, and for lack of a better term, they suck and they're terrible, and I hate them. So standard open ratcheting back end. All right. Those are going to be very vital. A set of Allen wrenches, standard sizes. I usually take them out of the actual holder and put them into a bag, kind of like this. It's like a banker's bag, but I have all my Allens in here. Makes them a little easier to find rather than you know, putting them in and out of the holder so often if you use them quite a bit. They also make those Allen wrenches that flip open, which are also very good. I like those as well. Just for sake of ease, everything that I'm going to be talking about is standard sizes, SAE. I'm not going to get into metric. We do see metric every once in a while, but not very often. So everything that I'm talking about, if you want to get a metric set, it's probably not a bad thing, but it's not something that we see too often. So probably not something I would keep in my bag, but something I would keep in my truck, if that makes sense. Also, you're going to want a set of nut drivers, just a standard nut driver set, something like this. You know, and they come in kits where you get all the sizes. On that topic, though, I know I said I wasn't going to talk sizes, but they make the long shaft nut drivers here, like this one. You're going to want, especially in this industry, one of these that's 5/16 and one of these that's 1/4 inch. And the long shaft is very important because that will make your job 10 times easier, I promise you. Also, you're going to want probably a punch set, just with a bunch of punches like these. Mine are a little bent up, you can see. Probably need a new set, but since I'm not in the field anymore, it doesn't really matter. But you know, a bunch of different sizes work with that, and so obviously then keep a hammer, or I like to use rubber mallets, stuff like that. Those will stay on the truck, but not in your bag. Try to keep your bag as light as possible because you will be carrying it a lot. Also, a set of wire crimps. I like the Klein ones. These ones here I've had these for, I don't know, 10 years. So wire crimps are definitely a must, especially if you're working with electricity or anything like that. On the same topic, you're going to want a set of wire strippers, all right, especially if you're again working on a lot of electrical stuff and things like that. These have crimps on them, but they're not very good. I usually don't like to use those, but it makes stripping wires a whole lot easier than, you know, trying to circle the wire with a razor blade and pop the front end off. I had to do that obviously a couple times, but wire strippers make it a whole lot easier. Tape measure, you're going to want a tape measure to carry with you at all times. That is definitely a must. There's going to be a lot of situations where you're going to have to maybe do an install or quote an install, or you know, just see if you're going to be able to fit something through a hallway or a door. Tape measures are always very good. Also, for identification purposes, sometimes you'll need sizes and things like that if models and serial numbers are missing. So tape measure, definitely make sure you have one of those. Emery cloth and a file. Emery cloth is like very fine sandpaper. All right, so we've got some Emery cloth here. It's very good for cleaning carbon off of things. You're working with hot equipment, then there's going to be a lot of you know, things that get burned up or you know, oxidized, things like that. That Emery cloth is fine enough where you can, you know, really get it to clean point. Also a file. Sometimes those same things that we're trying to clean are going to be a little bit harder to reach. So a file works really well to get in there and get those things cleaned up. A Torex screwdrivers. You know, you probably don't need those as much as the rest of the stuff that I'm talking about, but when you need it and you don't have it, it sucks. So I recommend getting just a full set of Torex screwdrivers. There's a couple of applications that require a longer shaft on some of the Torex screwdrivers, and they do make them with longer shafts. A lot of times you'll see like a T-bar with Torex on the end. Those are very good to have. This one here, you can see I kind of modified that a little bit and cut this front end off to lengthen that shaft a little. So you know, but those do come in handy when you need them. Meter, obviously, I've got a little meter in here, but I'm not going to show it to you. It's not very good. I recommend a Fluke and industry specific. You know, Fluke makes a ton of different meters and they're very good quality, geared specifically towards HVAC or electrician. You know, industry specific Fluke meters are the best way to go. They're very reliable, have a very good warranty. There's a lot of accessories available that will make everything a whole lot easier. So definitely a good meter. Good flashlight. I like to keep a flashlight in my bag, and you know, it's very important to have something small but reliable like this here. It's LED, and it definitely helps. So you're going to be in a lot of tight quarters, small spaces. Some of these kitchens are very dark. Some of the areas you're going to be working in are very dark, and as a technician, trust me, you're going to be working at night. So flashlight is very good. When I was a technician, I actually didn't even keep it in my bag. I kept it on my person. I just had a you know, a pouch that I carried on my hip with a flashlight in it because you just need it that much. Tubing cutter, if you're going to be doing anything with pilot tubing or gas tubing, you know, aluminum tubing, that kind of stuff in ovens and stovetops and all of that, you're going to want a tubing cutter because you're going to have to buy those in rolls and cut them to the size that you're going to need when you're actually doing that repair. So something just like this is good, very good to have. Scraper, there's going to be a lot of cleaning involved, and if you've been in this industry, you know that a lot of the stuff that you're going to clean doesn't come off easy. So a scraper is the best way to do that. Know what to scrape and know what not to scrape, all right? Because a customer will know. Yeah, some of that heavy grease and debris and stuff like that that you can't get off just by using your fingernail, definitely have a scraper with you. A Scribe Set, all right, just something like this. You can pick these up at any hardware store, but they come in handy for a lot of times you have to clean out little small spaces to even get a screwdriver in there, or you know, sometimes you have to be really precise when you're trying to grab a wire that you can't necessarily reach. So, you know, there's a lot of applications that these scribes can be used in. So very good tool to have. Also, a small brush, both wire and plastic, is very good to have, and I'm talking about, you know, with the bristles about that long. You know, it really helps when you have to clean something up. But again, I can't stress enough, know what to use the wire brush on and know what to use the plastic brush on. Wire brush can definitely score metal, scratch metal. So if it's anything that's visible, especially to a customer or a customer's customer, you're not going to want to use a wire brush because it's not going to look pretty when you're done. Definitely use a plastic. So those are just some of the things that should be in a bag, some tools that a technician should carry. I didn't cover everything. There's going to be some things that you're going to have to just kind of find out on your own as you're doing it. You know, and unfortunately it's one of those situations where you're probably going to be at a place and you're going to say, wow, I wish I had a tool that did this. And then you'll find one. You know, again, there's some tools that are going to be kept in the truck and not necessarily in the bag that I'm going to go over in a different episode. Pipe wrenches, things like that, bigger tools that you don't want to lug everywhere. So anyway, again, I apologize for the length of this video, but I think it's going to be an important one, especially if you are a technician or thinking about becoming a technician. You know, you definitely need to know what tools to have, because these tools are our livelihood. And again, I just hope that everybody knows that if they are looking for a career as a technician, that employers will expect technicians to have their own tools. So this is all stuff that, you know, you should have, you should buy, and you should keep track of. Also, on that same topic, know what tools to spend big money on and know what tools not to spend big money on. Okay. You will lose tools, you'll misplace tools, you'll break tools. All of this stuff happens, so you need to know what you should buy quality and what you should buy quantity, if that makes sense. And you know, maybe that's another episode there. I can talk about what tools to really make sure you have good quality on. So anyway, I hope this helps you guys today. Again, I know it was a little long, apologize about that, but hopefully you got some good insight. So anyway, we will catch you next week for our next episode. If you have any questions about this one, feel free to comment below, shoot me an email, give me a call, whatever. But that's going to do it for this week. All right, thanks for watching.